Okay, yeah. Please go ahead and explain what is Angular.
So Angular is a open-based front-end framework, which is actually written in TypeScript, and which helps in create larger applications for web or mobile or desktop. So yeah, that is Angular
Okay,
definition.
so what did you work on Angular 1.js?
No.
Okay, so do you know the difference between these two frameworks? Like what is Angular 1 and what is Angular 2?
Yeah, so Angular 1 basically is written in JavaScript, and from Angular 2 they have written in TypeScript. And in Angular 1 they have used like model view controller concept, and in Angular 2 it's basically main of components and directives, etc. And in Angular 1 doesn't support mobile applications to create a proper mobile application, but in Angular 2 it supports some mobile applications. And also the dependency injection concept is available in Angular 2 and it's not available in Angular 1. And also the compared to Angular 2, Angular 1 is less manageable, for the larger applications, which is easier in Angular 2.
Okay. So one follow-up question on that, right? So you said, yeah, the differences are fine, but was there any limitations between Angular 1 and Angular 2 from performance point of view?
Yeah, actually, I can say that in Angular 2, we mainly follow the tree of Angular components, which so each component is have its own different HTML templates and styles. So that managing the larger applications in Angular 2, it's easier compared to Angular 1, where it is like everything will be like model view controller, and there is no way to separate the each part of your application in Angular 1. So I can say that is the disadvantage.
Okay, that is from maintenance point of view, right? So larger team can work on Angular 2 well compared to Angular 1. That is fine. But I was asking about the application performance side. Like Angular 1 was little speeder, faster. Angular 2 is fast.
Angular 2 is fast. I can say maybe because it's written in TypeScript. It's mostly, you can, structure wise, it's well managed in Angular 2 than compared to the application written in JavaScript.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, next question is, can you explain what are the main building blocks of Angular 2 framework?
So in Angular 2, we have components, we have modules, we have services, we have directives and pipes, we have routes, we have templates, we have dependency injection, we have data binding, and metadata. These are the main building blocks of Angular.
Okay, cool. So what is data binding?
So data binding is binding the data between the view and the controller. So sorry, component. So data remain in sync between the view and component in data binding technique. Basically, whenever a user changes anything in the view, so Angular will update the component, and vice versa. Whenever anything changes in the updates in the component, Angular will updates the view.
Okay, nice. So how many types of data binding we have in Angular?
We have one-way and two-way data binding. So in one-way data binding, data flows in one direction. It's either from view to component or from component to view. In two-way, it's data remains in sync between component and view by transferring from view to component and component to view.
Okay, both at same time. Okay.
Yeah.
So in which scenarios one-way binding is useful, and in which scenarios two-way binding is useful?
In whenever
okay,
we
let's
have
go
to
with the one-way
update
binding. So
Yeah.
one-way binding, and then we'll go to the two-way binding. So when which scenarios one-way binding is useful?
So when the user, like for example, in event binding, whenever user updates anything in the like can you do any click action or do any touch action or hover action,
Mm-hmm.
so we can catch that event and we can add functionality inside the components methods. So this is I can explain as a one-way binding where it is from the user view to the component.
Mm-hmm.
And in the two-way binding, I can explain like whenever like a property binding, whenever user enters anything like a text, enters any text into the input box then we can catch that value in the component and we can do any validation and sends back to the view.
Okay. Okay. And what is event binding?
Event binding is binds HTML events to the methods of the components, basically. So the HTML events like a click action or any hover action. So whenever user does that, we can catch that event and update that in the component method. So that is event binding.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
So
coming to
basically, yeah.
yeah, got it. Let's move on to the next question. So
Yeah.
what is a component in Angular?
So basically, component is one of the building block of Angular. So Angular maintains components in the form of tree structure so that it is easy to manage the entire application. And also components I can define as it's manages the view or a patch of a screen called view. And components we can define using the decorator called @component.
So
Yeah.
what is the difference between a component and directive?
So in the component, it's mainly manages the view, and in the directive, it is manage the behavior of the elements or component, or adds or removes the elements or components from the DOM. So in the component, basically have like everything its own HTML template and its own style, but in the directive it just have the main difference I can say while the structure of the directive and component. So in the directive it has just a selector which is defined, and in the component it has metadata of selector and and HTML template which is like template URL we have to define inside the component structure, and also the selector also the style URL to define style.
Yeah. So coming to the next question, so where we use directives and where we use components, because you're saying directives will not have template and CSS, right? But whereas component will have a template and CSS. So both must be used in separate places. So can you explain where we use directives and where we use components?
So components we are used in the template where we are define the component using the selector we define, and the directive we use inside the component to define the to do any changes to the HTML DOM elements, any to remove it from the DOM or to add it or add any style or add any behavior to the elements inside the template.
Okay, cool. So how can you create a directive?
We can create using Angular CLI command using ng-generate directive, and we can give the directive name we want.
Okay, so if I want to create this directive manually without the ng-CLI, how can I do that? Is it possible?
Yeah, we can do it. We have to define it using the first you have to import it, and then we have to use the directive decorator and define the selector for that, and then we can write the a TypeScript class function where we are using we are giving the class name, and we have to give the constructor, and we have to write methods for the respective directives we want to use.
Okay. Okay. And after that, do we have to update anything after creating the directive?
Yeah, we have to update it, use it in the template, depending on the
No, not
which.
using. I mean, Angular should know the directive exists part of some module, right?
Yeah.
So how Angular will know this directive belongs to which module?
No, I'll pass this question.
Okay, so okay, let me put it this way. You create a component, and once you created a component, basically we have module also, right? In Angular. So
Yeah.
Angular must know which component belongs to which module and which directive belongs to which module, right? So because we can have multiple modules. So if you create this directive, and then it will not know which module to associate this directive with. So there is one more configuration we have to do to use this directive. Otherwise, it will not know. So do you know that configuration what we have to do?
Other than writing that directive inside the custom directive inside the template element, I'm not sure.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So did you create any service while you're working, and did you use like what purpose you use the service?
No, when I worked on the project which I did last time, so I didn't really create any services.
Okay, so do you know at least like where we use services, for what purpose we use services?
Yeah. So services basically part of code, like a piece of code, I can say, which performs a specific task, and it's a reusable code. So it basically the component actually manages a view, but the services manages all the functionality, like fetching the data or do any API calls, or any image fetching. So for these kind of, or like any validation we need, or these things we can perform or achieve using the services. And also the major advantages of services, once we write it and inject it, we can like reuse of the services. So it's avoid rewriting the code for different components also, or different modules. And also services is one of the best way to share the data between the components.
Okay, so as you bring up the topic, so how many ways we can share data between components?
So in we can share from the parent to child, and we can share data between child to parent, or also we can share the data between the unrelated components also. So from parent to child, we can use at the rate input decorator. So and from child to parent, we can use at rate output, or we can also use a view child. And for the sharing the data between the unrelated components, we can use the services.
You can use the services. Okay. So the next question is, you said we have to inject the services, right? So what is injection in dependency injection in Angular? Like you're saying only services is injected, right? So can we inject components, or can we inject directives, or only services we can inject?
We can inject components and directives as well. But yeah, I know to explain how the service is injected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So basically, dependency injection is injecting or registering, I can say, service or any other components or directives that are related to each other. So so there is like a self-registering or self-injection, or we can do at the module level, or we can do at the component level for the services to inject.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so in self-service, Angular will inject the services at the root level. So it is available across the application to different modules and components, etc. So we
Okay.
use the thread injectable decorator with provided in metadata with the
Mm-hmm.
with the property root, which actually says that it can be used across application,
Okay.
and only one single instance of the service is created at this type, and
Mm-hmm.
this is by default whenever we generate a service using ng generate service, this is what it is created. And but if you want to inject the services in the modular level for the different modules, you can use that rate ng module,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that one, and with the provider metadata, and
Mm-hmm.
can define the service. And but if you want to restrict the services used only for the particular component, we can do it in that way also at the component level also, by using writing inside the component decorator with the provider metadata.
Okay. So you said if you use provider in root, there will be only one instance created for the entire application, right? So let's say
Yeah.
I don't use that. I just use injectable and I'll remove the product provider in, and I use the providers array inside the ng module to inject my service at I mean the create my service instance at module level. Okay. So in that case, how
Mhm.
many instances will be created?
In the module level also, it's a single instance is created. Only at the component level, for each new component where we use, it's a new service instance is created.
Okay. So let's say I have 3 modules. I have feature modules called student module and departments module and administration module. I have 3 modules and I'm using that service in all these 3 modules in provided provider section in the ng module. Then how many instances will be created?
Module level, yeah, so it's for each module, it will be a new instance.
Exactly. Yes. So yeah, component level, yes, I understood. It will create separate instances. Now, so did you work on like calling backend services from Angular using the HTTP client module?
No, I'm not used.
Oh, okay.
In Angular 2, I'm not used. In Angular 1, I have used using HTTP client services.
Okay. So uh, okay, fine. Then let's move on to the next question. So do you know about pipes in Angular?
Yeah, Spipes actually helps in filtering the data. So any inputs, any data input, you can filter using pipes to the desired output we want. So in the pipes, we have a few built-in pipes which Angular provides. Like lowercase pipes, uppercase pipes, which converts later from lowercase to, so any case to lowercase
Mm-hmm.
or uppercase respectively, or we can use a currency pipes to convert into a different currency, or you can use a date pipes to change into a different date format. So basically, we use the pipe symbol with the pipe built-in pipes we want, and property we want to use for that with the colon.
Okay. So how can you create a pipe?
ng generate pipes with the pipe name we want to create.
It's
You just
pipes or pipe?
pipes.
Are you sure it's pipes?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Sorry. Create pipe name, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, yes, it's pipe.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you work on routes in Angular?
Yes, I've worked on routes, but that actually I'm not prepared for that because we didn't cover that routes.
Okay, okay, sure, fine. But
Yeah.
just tell me on overview, like where we can use these routes and what is the need of routes in Angular when we have components, directives, pipes, all right. So what is the need of routes?
It actually, because Angular is a single page application, so using this route, we can achieve we can do the routing between the various components. So basically, provide the client side navigation.
Yeah. Right. So okay. So as you said, you didn't prepare for routes. I'll not ask in routes.
Yeah. And actually, I don't remember also because it's long back we used it.
Okay, fine. So did you work on forms module, forms or reactive forms?
Yeah, I have. But yeah, even that also, I think after subject and observable, we didn't cover, right? So I didn't really concentrate on that topics.
Okay, fine. So did you use at least the structural directives?
Structural directives, yeah.
Okay, just name what are the structural directives available in Angular? And
We
what is the
have
structural directives and why we call it structural directive first? Okay, so what is the need of
because
this?
we can change the we can change the structure of the DOM element in a template by adding element or removing the template by using this structural directives. So we have like ng if. So basically, this structural directive is used with asterisk, and then the structural directive is used. So have ng if. So we can use based on some condition, we can show or hide the template by using ng if. For example, we want to show alert if when the user is logged in, we can say ngif and set to a variable that we define in the component. For example, he is logged into, so it checks if it is logged in based on the condition, or else we can use ng if with else to show the different message or a different template using.
No, just tell me what are the structural directives we have.
Okay, we have ng4, we have ng switch.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, these are the ones which I worked on.
And from which module we have we get these structural directives? So there must be yeah. So basically, Angular keeps all these reusable directives in one module. So do you know what module that is?
Common module?
Yes, it's common module. Okay, so yeah, I think we can wrap up this session now. We'll have next couple of sessions for other topics we missed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically,
yeah, sure. We'll have another session for the feedback. Okay, we'll close this here.
Okay. And you'll continue the remaining topic also, right? Like in the next session.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.